It's so great to be here. This is a great venue. I'm just so glad to be out of my house because there's nothing going on there. Uh, I'm an empty nester now. My husband was the first one to leave the nest. He found some other chicks to nest with. I think I should have made a big U-turn on that relationship quicker. You know, maybe a V-turn, it would have been faster. I used to call him the Mib, the man in basement, because that's where he lived. Sometimes he came up to do yard work. He was really good at running out for diapers when the kids were babies, and he'd bring back condoms, and we didn't use condoms. I try to remember what was it that attracted me to him. He was a skydiver, and I didn't like small planes. He was a whitewater rafter. I didn't like small boats. He was a camper. I didn't like small penises. So why did I marry him? I was pregnant. That's right. Yeah, I was pregnant. We did have two beautiful daughters together, and that was the best 2 times we had. I used to worry about my daughters and their relationships because all I ever saw them doing was texting. I told my oldest daughter, I said, look, if you want to go out with him, he needs to come to the door, introduce himself, and show me his investment portfolio. So she texted me, ugh. I said, honey, look at me. Divorce is going to be really expensive for him. I had trouble with my daughters, their relationships, their communications. When they were in high school, they used to hang out with guys. That meant maybe they'd go to Chipotle and they'd both be on their cell phones sitting in relative proximity to each other, and they'd be texting other friends. Then they go to college, and it's about hooking up. Go to a party, see somebody, it's like that friction going on and that deep, face-to-face contact, deep penetrating contact. And I thought, why isn't there something between hanging out and hooking up? Like there should be something. So what about conversation? What about what classes are you taking? Do you know what's in your DNA? Do you have a trust fund? Stuff like that. So, I remember, I was young, I dated. I brought home a lot of guys that I was in love with that my parents thought were losers. I went out with Jesus, not the son, but someone who looked like him. And my father was like, when's he gonna cut his hair? And my mother was like, is he doing drugs? He's got this glazed look in his eyes. And I said, no, Mom, he's not doing drugs. He's just moving them from one country to another. He's a successful entrepreneur. He's in the import-export business. And I met him after he served time, and he went to my parents' Passover Seder when he was on parole. And he ate everything. Even the leftover gefilte fish, just like, so, I did what most Jewish girls' daughters would do. I moved in with him because they were so critical of him. And I really think that today, if I was with him and he had, been smuggling that weed into the port of Denver instead of the port of Miami, we'd be sitting pretty right now. He would be like the Jeff Bezos of blunts. Amazon Prime ships pot. I have another daughter. She lives in New Orleans, and she got her bachelor's degree in commercial music. So she works in a coffee shop. She did a semester abroad So it's a French coffee shop. She calls me about once a week to kind of give me the edited, updated version of her life. And she called recently to tell me that she lost my mother's ring. And she said she had been to this concert with this guy, and it was really late, and they were really tired, so they crashed at his house. And she had taken her ring off at night and put it on the nightstand, and the next morning she forgot to put it back on. And the guy was supposed to bring it to her the next day. He put it in his pocket. He had a hole in his pocket, and it fell through, and it was lost. So she said, "Mommy, I hope you're not mad." And I said, sort of Oprah came over me, and I said, well, let's just hope that whoever found the ring needed it more than you. And she said, "Oh, Mommy, I'm so glad you're not mad." And I said, "No, honey, I'm not upset, but does he have a trust fund?" Thank you so much. You've been a great audience. I appreciate it.